Is my mic working? Mic check. Hey, hey. What's up, Tanner?
Howdy.
Oh yeah, you guys have met before. We did the whole recruiting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys.
You're
know
always
each other.
about your business, Kareem. You got the headset on. You're ready to rock.
Well, just because my laptop, like, I don't know, something's wrong with my mic, so I actually
Got
have to use it.
Recruit some painters later today.
It's my welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order headset?
Yeah.
Love it.
No. But Corinne don't mess around. She don't mess around, man.
No,
She
heck
works
no,
those
I
people
know.
into shape.
I know.
I know.
She's running the show.
Well, dude, Tanner, just so you kind of know how we do things here, man. We keep things real casual. We just roll right into it like this. So, like this will probably be in the podcast.
Record button. Oh, it's recording.
Yeah, it's already recording. We jump right in. So, welcome back to those listening. Welcome back to the Eric the Painter podcast, hosted by me, Eric, not actually a painter. Today we got Tanner Mullen, good friend of mine. Yeah, we're gonna hang out. We're gonna talk some paint stuff. It's gonna be great. Dude, so I don't want to do the whole your story background thing. People can go listen to that somewhere else.
I'm tired of telling it. I want to get into the meat.
I know, dude. So, dude, I was thinking about this a lot. And the reason I wanted to, have you on right at the beginning of this is you were like the big piece of like me starting this painting. Like you were there from the beginning of me starting this painting business. Yeah. You've kind of seen the whole thing. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of walk through like some of this timeline and stuff, and what did you see on your end and everything. I wanted to almost take us back to, I'm sure you remember it, but it was probably now like 2-3 years ago or something. Do you remember when I came out to Ocala and we went and sold some paint projects together?
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm curious, like, what was that like for you? Having somebody that's never sold a paint project before just coming out and like jumping in and selling stuff for you, and not like what was from your perspective, right? Like as the paint business owner, not as like my friend, like what was that like? What was that experience like for you?
It was easy for you being like a natural salesperson, but like generally speaking, it was I don't know, it was cool. I think what I appreciated most about it was you were trying to learn things that so you can improve your coaching to your clients, which I thought was honorable. And that I don't think it was to go into the mindset of, I don't even think you were thinking about a painting business. I think you might have been thinking about it, but like it was more
but not seriously.
But not seriously. So I don't know, man. I think something happened when I sent you in that house by yourself that clicked for you that I don't think you would have gotten. And it was like, dude, as soon as that happened, because you sold the job, right? Remember that lady was the best customer ever. You sold the job.
She ended up being a good customer.
She was fantastic, man. She was a great customer, man. Like she was easy, like, super grateful. And I was like, and you were surprised, right? We were sitting in the car. I'm like, yo, you just go in and go do this one. Like for me, I was just risking not getting a job, which it was a good bet. I didn't think I was gonna I didn't think you were just gonna like botch it. Yeah. But I think there's something about that, man. I think when you went in there and you just started like being by yourself, because like we did a couple where it was me and you, but when you went by yourself,
it was kind of a hard dynamic to play off each other.
It's a super hard dynamic. Yeah. It's like, oh, and then I kind of take the lead and I cut you off because I'm like, all right, he doesn't know the process.
He's not saying the right thing. My designer's name is Donna.
Meant to be. Dude, we had such a, like, for that short amount of time, we had such a variety of customers. Like, remember that teacher, like the guy and the old guy was just sitting there, like, talking to us for like an hour, and then the price, they just didn't even go with us. And remember, I don't know if you know this, but so just for some recap, you and I did that. We didn't get the interior. Those people moved out.
But you got the exterior. Oh, yeah, it was somebody else.
People moved out. And then I took a picture and be like, yo, I got hired to paint the exterior of this house by the new owner. Anyway, so but yeah, man, it was fun. It was fun. You did a great job. You sold the job, and then from there, I guess you got bit by the bug, man. And then now you.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, Tanner, but so in Ocala, Florida, we're out in horse country, right? It is not 10 minutes next to your next appointment. We're 30 minutes through the horse fields to the next appointment. I don't know if you remember, that was kind of where I had the idea, because I was seeing it. It wasn't just theory, but like I was doing it with you, and I was like, dude, you could do this virtually. Do you remember me telling you that?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, no, you can't.
Yeah, so that was kind of where the idea started. So I'm super curious. I want you to be honest here, Tanner. Did you think when I told you I was going to start this painting business, I was going to sell it all virtually? And keep in mind, still to this day, I've only ever done 2 in-person estimates ever in my entire life. One for premium painting and one for Pathfinder painting. I'm at 100% close rate. Fun fact too. Uh, but so I've only ever done 2. Everything else has been virtual. Did you think when I told you I was going to do this, did you think the virtual sales was actually going to work, or did you think I was going to pivot in a couple months or something and it wasn't going to work?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be fair, originally the original plan was you were going to do all this from Medellin. So, I
Yep,
mean,
in
that was
Mexico,
like
and
that's
yeah.
like super virtual.
Yeah.
That's just like I don't even care virtual type
Yeah.
mindset. So, part of the reason why for me it felt like it would be an impossible task was because initially that was the plan. You were going to go out in Medellin, run everything
Yeah.
virtually, and the big thing was the production. I've sold jobs virtually. I mean, without meeting people, so I knew it was possible. But to build an
Yeah.
entire business around it, that was something also that I was like, I
At a
don't know
whole
if that's
scale, right?
at a
Yeah.
whole, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I sold them,
Yeah.
but
I know it's funny in hindsight looking back on it, just like certain areas where I was just very naive, probably overly optimistic. That being one of them. I think me and Corinne were talking about this on our last episode, but it was like when I first started it, I literally had a trip to Mexico City planned. I was gonna be there for like 2 months, launch the business and everything. I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna interview some subs over Zoom and it'll all be good. And you were like, bro, go back for a couple months. And a year later, I'm like, shit, man, I'm still here.
yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
almost
Tanner was
good
like,
to
you
be
better get
like,
back there for that.
yeah. It's like go back for like 3 weeks, and then he stays.
Yeah. Well, then you realize you're like, man, subcontractors. Some of them kind of weren't. It wasn't just plop a subcontractor in there and your problems are solved. It was a
I
little
was
harder
thinking
than
about
that.
it yesterday, bro. It's like, look, the subcontractor model is sexy if it's done the right way, and it takes a lot of time, and it's
Yeah.
really just based off of relationships, and it's
Yeah.
just people that you trust to go in and do the job. And when you first start out, you don't have those relationships, especially someone like
Dude.
you who you have the sales. So it's like you
Right.
need quick production or else your sales is going to suffer. I just felt like employees, man, you could get there way faster, at least to that 2 to 3 crew, and then go to subs after that. Now that you have a
So
foundation.
here's something interesting I've realized. I'm curious your take. I'm sure it exists. So everybody I know that is very successful with subcontractors has built past, call it a million a year with subcontractors. Um, Everybody I know that's done that had subcontractor relationships prior to starting their paint business,
Yeah.
or they started W-2 and then eventually transitioned. Do you know? I'm curious because I'm sure they exist. I just don't know anybody. Do you know anybody that started, had zero subcontractor connections or anything, and started with subs and has grown past, a
No,
million a year?
not at all.
Yeah,
They
it's
either they
interesting.
some of them turn their employees into subs, you
Yeah,
know.
I've seen that
Like,
before.
that's I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you really go all in on it. You help them get their LLC, you get their insurance right, you do it the right way. Dude, I've been in business for 8 years, and I don't seek them, but I don't have a lot of painting subcontractor relationships in that 8 years time frame of just being,
Yeah.
being known. It's not like people are coming to me, as the highest rated painting company and being like, "Hey, I want to work with you." I think just the thing is like it's just two types of businesses. I love the culture, bro. Like I just love
Yeah.
employees. I love the fact that I know where they're going to be. I know what time they're going to be there, and I can tell them where to be and what time to be there. Like that's power in the sale. Like
Well,
I
it
think
also
that can't be
reduces
left.
stress. It
It
reduces
does.
stress. And Tanner, I don't know if you remember this moment. So, and Corinne, I don't
Well,
even
you
know
could
if
look at
did
that
you.
two ways, but for the most part, it does. Because I think some people say that it reduces stress to not have that time frame pressure with a subcontractor. It's like, well, if they don't get it done, then it's not going to cost me money, you know.
Sure. Yeah. No, I
But it's
mean
also
stress.
if they
So
don't get it done, and the customer was promised to get it done, then you're trying. Now you have to impart your rules and your standards on a subcontractor. Like, yo, dude, I had a guy who came on the breakthrough and he was like, I have guys that get angry at me if I tell them they need to get things done in a certain time. And they go, well, we're not your employee, man. You can't really tell us what to do.
Yep. It's true. I mean, it is technically true. It is. But yeah, that's what I mean when I was saying like I think less stressful is like, and I don't know if you remember this, Tanner and Corinne. I don't know if you had jumped over to the painting side when this story had happened, but dude, we were probably like 3-4 months in. I'm just getting obliterated through subcontractors. And we had a subcontractor bail on us like the day before. Like he did one job for us, turned out fine. And then it's Friday. We're doing like a little 1-day job, like great money maker. The sub was going to make like $600 for like probably a 6-hour job. It was like a half bath and a dining room, walls only. It was super easy, right? Like Thursday at 8 p.m. bails, right? And in particular, this customer too, like we had accommodated their timeline. They were like going out of town next week. It was like, no, like somebody needs to get in there. And I didn't have 6 other subcontractors and relationships I could pull from. So I call my brother, who is kind of a self-taught contractor and painter through his real estate properties. And I ask him for a favor and he comes and helps me out. And I was so calm that morning. I had so much less anxiety and stress because I was like, I know my brother's going to be there. If he's not, he's going to communicate. Like, I'm not just like, is this dude going to show up? And I know you have parts of that with employees too. Like an employee can not show up, right? But I find to your point, like there's way more control and way less things that create stress and anxiety in the business.
You got to pick your battles, man. Like with my employees, you know, sometimes they roll in 8:15, 8:30. You know, I mean, I don't even check the timesheets, dude. I check them at the end of the week. I don't. I really, because I don't, you know, it's just the environment we create. They hold each other accountable. Like when you create, I mean, it's like the crew leader is going to call him and be like, dude, where you at? I don't need to do that, you know? But then again, if we notice somebody's taking advantage of that, that's easy to spot. And it's like, you know, I think in anything, like, I think you should seek individuals that appreciate the small things like that, you know, because they've had an experience with a business owner, something as simple as not even paying on time, right? Like,
dude, yep.
You know, it's like, yo, these are the intangibles that maybe you don't understand is that you get paid every week. You actually get a pay stub. You could buy a house. You could buy a car. You can maneuver your life. We pay a little more. So,
well, dude, here was the most interesting thing is that we've had as we've now gone down this W-2 route and we finally have some really good teams together. And at first when we were doing W-2, I was hiring a bunch of green people and I was like, I'm going to teach them how to paint. I know how to paint interiors. It's not that difficult. In hindsight, I'm like, what the heck was I doing? Right. But that's what we were doing. And now that we've hired more experienced painters, it's crazy. Like the person that's never painted before that comes from just like some random, you know, working at Home Depot, working at the oil change place. You tell them how they have a paid lunch, how they're guaranteed 40 hours a week, how we do this, how it's always organized and they always have, you know, the address at least a day or two before. And these little things that like an experienced painter is like foaming at the mouth. They're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because they've dealt with all the unorganization, not getting paid on time, having to go pick up a check, no direct deposit, 1099. They've dealt with all that shit. But ironically, the person that's green is just like, okay. Like they're not impressed. So it's like it's almost become easier once we got in front of the right people and we cracked that code and we like figured out that recruiting process. It almost got easier to attract the experienced painters that fit the culture because they were just so excited when they saw like this dude's got that stuff figured out.
It just asked like a good question to ask is like, well, what was your last, you know, employer like? I think it's a great question, and it's like with our customers, what was the last experience with a painting contractor? And really what that's designed to do is to find areas of value. Like when I go into hiring, I go into it like I want to sell you on us because you're that good. If I got you in front of me at this point, like you're worth me pursuing, but I don't want you to just work for us. I want to build value as to why this is something that you should put your heart into. And for me, it's like, great question is just like, hey, what was that last employer like? Oh, well, you know, we won't, you know, they paid good, but it was only 3 days a week. Oh, well, if someone's paying $30 an hour and you're getting 3 days a week, that's not as good as 40 hours, right? So, you know, those are just some things to think about. Like, because for me, it's like, I want people that are bought in, not just showing up. I think for me, that's something that at this point in my, I want you to be bought into the mission, bought into me, bought into your team. I have a guy that I just hired, man. He owned a painting business. He has a 5-star rating on Google right now for his painting business. It's great.
Yeah.
No, he's awesome. And one of the big things for me was like, hey man, how do you feel about making that transition from business owner to employee? And he said, look, I'm just ready to show up to work and paint. He's like, I can't handle all the business stuff, but guess what? He values more than the people that have never owned and operated a business. He values the fact that he wakes up every day and has an address to go to, and he didn't have to figure out how to get it. He didn't want to.
He's not texting anybody going, "Yo, it's 8:00. Where am I supposed to be?"
I can tell you right now, I have at least 5 painters that could run their own business or have already ran their own business that work for me hourly. And it's because they know the value and they're not going anywhere because they're like, dude, that guy just handles it. And that to me is it's just, they just handle it. So I feel that.
No, dude, you're 100% right. Like our Charlie, the guy who's our project manager, he was a subcontractor for the last couple of years running his own thing. And we've had one other person, he's no longer here, but he was a great employee. Like everything was great. We left on great terms. Who same thing, like ran his own thing for a little bit. So I've certainly seen the same thing. Dude, I don't know if I've told you about some of the switches we made to our recruiting process, but it's really interesting. Like to your point of what you were saying earlier of like, just like you're trying to build value with a homeowner in the sales process, you're also trying to build value during the interview process. Dude, this thing that was like a giant unlock for us, like a cheat code, and just like everything started changing in the recruiting process. I just like randomly did it on a whim one day, and then we kept doing it. Where if I have somebody that's like a good, like they're good, I think I'm going to make them an offer. I basically extend the interview by another 20, 30 minutes, and I just go through a ton of info. I go through like how we organize Slack for our painters. I go through our bonus structure. I go through our compensation plans and how they can grow and make more money. I go through our painter expectation docs. Like I go through just all this stuff, and that's when the experienced painters like foaming at the mouth, and they're just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, and you could tell how they react to that too as an indicator of like, is that something that stresses them out, or is that something that excites them, right? Like, I mean, do you want a work order before you get there, or do you just like being surprised every day when you walk into the the job?
Yeah.
But keeping employees is the trick, man. And it's not so much recruiting. You can recruit them, but like for me, it's like I'm a servant of my employees, bro. Like I find ways to make their day easier, make their life easier. And you only really know that when you start to just get to know them. And, from the perspective of a tradesman, I've lived the life for a long time. My dad he was a tradesman. We've been broke. I know what that feels like. I was broke for a while before I started my business. So I know what struggle feels like. So having empathy for people, especially paycheck to paycheck. And what I've recognized is most of the best employees won't ask for raises. Like they're just humble, they don't ask. And it's like, I got to know when it's time to reward them without them asking. And I've been doing that for 8 years, and it's always appreciated. And it's just one of those things that I just can recognize pretty easily is like, dude, we need to get you some more money, and I'm going to find ways to do that,
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Something that's been very interesting, and like, Corinne, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's interesting. Like the culture amongst our production team right now is fucking amazing. And that feels weird to say because like most of them have only one of them's been here more than a month. It is wild.
Well, you guys beat out a lot of people, so
we did.
That's a good thing.
But it's fascinating, and it kind of makes sense because like they spend so much time in a house together. They're talking. It's not like a different type of job where like they can talk while they're painting. So like it kind of makes sense. But it's been fascinating to me to see how quickly culture has developed, how quickly these people are friends, and they're excited to like. We did a optional team meeting yesterday or a couple of days ago at 5 p.m. You're like totally optional, just like if you want updates on the company, we're gonna do a little team building, whatever. And like several of our painters showed up to it, and they were like excited to see the other painter through the Zoom screen that was on a different job that day. I'm like, bro, y'all have only known each other for like 2 weeks. Like, it's crazy how fast that develops in the production field as opposed to like an office environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Have
It
you
is.
seen this?
Well, too, I think it depends on like the actual people that you have in the mix because we've done that before, obviously, but it hasn't been this quick to, all those gears kind of come together and people are like actually like complimenting each other and not being like, why did so and so take 5 hours on a ceiling? I don't know what they were doing over there. Like we haven't
Yeah.
had any of that with this new batch of people that we have, and it's just really awesome to
Yeah, you
see.
guys neutralizing the ego in this industry is like a skill. And I want you guys to know from the perspective of like a painter to know that they have this like army of an office, a corporate office, even though you guys are at a small scale right now. It's a good feeling, dude. It's probably like they probably feel super valued when they know that Eric's going to be cheering them on, Corinne's going to be cheering them on, whoever else is a part of this dynamic
Yeah.
that you guys have. And it's like when you come from like the only person giving you recognition is probably just the homeowner because the boss probably isn't
Is
emotionally
a
aware
dick.
enough to do
Yep.
that. Or else they probably still be there because a little bit of emotional awareness and emotional intelligence as a boss in this industry is a freaking, it's like a cheat code. So it's a lot different, man, because I look at appreciation and gratitude as free currency. And it's like, man, if you just can double down on that, man, it's awesome. And then just kind of seeing what you guys are doing, bringing the team together. Do you know how many painting businesses don't do that and they wait until they have including
problem.
myself, right? No, not a problem, but wait until they get everyone physically together. Do you know how hard it is to get everyone physically together
Very hard.
in a room to discuss things? And people are getting coffee and like, rummaging around, and it's in the morning time, dude. They got their hands in their freaking sweatshirt and they're like half asleep, dude. And it's like you guys can bring everyone together virtually because that's just part of the flow of this
Part of the culture.
this thing, part of the culture. It's like, okay,
part of the culture.
virtual
Corinne's
meeting, let's
virtual,
get the
like-
information out. Love it. Yeah.
But think about it. It literally is where, like, think how these painters come in. They have a screening call with Corinne.
I would work
Corinne
for you.
takes.
Honestly,
Come
if there was a
over.
choice,
Yeah, Tanner, we can make a
honestly,
comeback.
no,
You
I'm-
can become a painter again.
no, I'm just saying though, like if there was a choice between like a regular painting company and then this new innovative way of doing business that just puts the employee first, like I would choose this. I would choose this opportunity.
Yeah,
It's funner and
Well-
it's better to be a part of a team,
Yeah, no, and 100%. And like, I think we did we're starting to do like a 2-week feedback survey from every new hire. Corinne's been doing that, and I think some of the coolest feedback we got from one of our painters the other day was he just had all amazing things to say. There's an apprentice too, right? A little, just tiny bit of painting experience, and he was like, I expected it to be like more corporate-y feel. And he's like, I'm finding it's like this perfect balance of like, it feels like a family and it's tight knit and it's fun, but like we also have all the organization we need where it's not like chaotic. And I was like, hell yeah, like that's a great compliment, So
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're setting the expectation early on that it is corporate-y, right? I mean, that's a good thing that it's like this official, but then when they get in, it's like, oh, okay, it's not as strenuous.
I'd say I wouldn't even quite say we set that expectation, to be honest. Like
Perception, I mean, it's like the perception. You've done a good job of
yeah,
creating
they're
the
like, these
perception.
guys are big, they're legit, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they're thinking. Yeah.
Right. From the ad to the Corinne, with the reach outs, and it's like, it's official, man. It's not like the painting business owner's like, hey, I got your ad. You have, you wanna come? It's different, man.
Yeah,
It's
I
like-
think that's a big that's a big point to make is like the congruency between, because I'm the first person to actually speak to them. So one of the questions I ask on the phone interview is, what drew you to our ad? And they're like, well, honestly, the way you guys worded it, you just seemed really friendly and fun, and that you really care about your people. I'm like, awesome, yes, because we do, and we like to think of ourselves as those in that type of way. And one of the questions or one of the feedback statements that I get sometimes is on that phone interview, they're just like, first of all, I ask, well, after this short conversation, just based on this, like how in alignment would you feel this opportunity aligns with what you're looking for, say on a scale of 1 to 10. So they give me a number there, and then sometimes at the end of that, they're just like, yeah, and honestly, I appreciate the time you took to ask me all these questions. In the last interview I had, it was just like,
Yeah.
how long have you painted? When can you start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for treating me like a
So,
human.
all of that. And so just not necessarily being like a corporate-y environment, but having some personally like worked
Structure.
for corporate companies, exactly pulling from some of the structure that corporate companies have, but yet also at the same time having the flexibility to be like, hey, we don't have to go through like a bunch of steps to make a change. And we honestly want your feedback. We'll always take what you're seeing, and anything you see to increase in efficiency, we'll consider that. And I
Yeah.
think when people think of corporate, they think of a lot of companies that just don't leave room for other people's input who are actually
Yeah.
like working those labor positions and give them a piece of like power and input.
It's
Yeah.
when you're saying that, I'm thinking of like Tony Robbins. He didn't come up with it, but like, and this is weird. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Tony Robbins? So he didn't come up. I don't know if he came up with this or if he created it, but it's the 6 human needs. And I think what's so cool about the painting industry, dude, is like it hits all these needs. I'm gonna read them real quick. So the first one is certainty. Like I think like the thought of certainty, like when you create a business that has certainty, it's like they know like that there's like a security there. They're gonna have a job the next day. They're certain about that, and you find that in some cases like there's a lot of uncertainty in previous jobs of like, dude, is this guy gonna have work tomorrow? He's at the bar drinking. Like, what is he doing, right? So like number one, like you guys are creating certainty. Number two, the need for variety. One thing, dude, I love about this industry is the fact that like they go to a new job every 3 days, 4 days, right? And it creates the
Yep.
variety. And it's like like you might get tired of a customer, and you can leave that customer and be like done with it, right? Or sometimes it's
Dude,
sad.
yes.
Sometimes you're like, damn, I don't want to leave this customer. They were great. They
Dude,
made me
but
broke.
I've had those moments where so much different than a marketing agency where like you're like, ah, man, maybe I kind of set the expectation wrong or I responded to this
Yeah,
client on the weekend. And we're like, if in a marketing agency, I'm like, shit, man, I respond on the weekend. They're going to
yeah,
expect me now to respond on the
yeah,
weekend for the next 2 years we work together.
yeah. You
Where I'm
taught me
like,
that, by
dude,
the way.
we just got to get
I
through
just
this
want you to know.
project, you
Like
know?
you taught me that with setting boundaries on the weekend. It's like once you allow
Did
Boundaries.
that
I?
one
Yeah.
Oh
time.
yeah, cool.
No, yeah, you did. Once you allow that one time. Anyway, significance, like that's another thing. So that's number three, and kind of what you guys are creating with kind of having them interact and just like be a part. It's like it kind of makes them feel significant, like they have some form of value, to the overall brand. The next one's connection and love. Now I don't obviously think the love part is obviously that's more personal, but the connection to the team, the connection to their
Yeah.
team members, like you said, like the environment's going really well,
They
so like
enjoy the people they
they
work with.
enjoy the vibes, right? They enjoy the workflow. Like you said, it's like it's not like, hey, why is he taking so long? It's like, yo, these become like, and I told you this early on when I was pitching you on W2. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
they create lifelong friends in my business. Like these are their brothers now. Like these are
Hmm.
like they're closer to each other than I ever was with them, and that's okay with me. Like they
Yeah.
hang out with each other. They're friends with each other's families. They go out to eat. It's like it's awesome building that. So the connection and love part. Human need number five is growth. Growth is obviously something that you guys are doing with your painters. You're giving them benchmarks. You're helping them not only grow professionally, but in some cases probably personally. Like, hey, how you got to handle the
Yeah.
situation better. Or, I'm
100%.
sure there's been plenty of times, Eric, where you've put in some personal growth gems to your team. And then
Yeah.
the last one is the need for contribution. And like you just alluded to, Corinne, it was, hey, we want to hear your feedback. We want you to help this be a more efficient process, right? So like the success is obviously happening, but really like I'm a big, like I love that. Like the 6 human needs are all being met. And that's what, to me,
Yeah.
drives people to be happy and content with where they're at, because there's nothing else that they need if those are the 6 needs being met, right?
Yeah. If they're fulfilled and they enjoy it, like they're not just like constantly looking for the next dollar an hour, but they're like, I love this. I'm happy.
Right.
Just
Yeah, it's
changes
like
it.
it's kind of like I'm not gonna find anything better than this, you know,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Tanner, I want to ask you this too, and we kind of talked about this before, but it's very interesting, right? I think where I had a big struggle in this was I went from managing, I built up a marketing company. I went from managing salespeople, project managers, office people, office team members making 5 to 10 grand a month, right? Virtual, overseas team members sometimes, to them managing the painter, the blue collar worker that's maybe making
Yeah.
only 3 grand a month. And it was like I had to just totally flip a lot of beliefs and learn something totally different. You did the same thing, but in the opposite direction, right? Like you were managing painters, and now you're managing freaking software developers with probably multi 6 figure salaries, I
Yeah.
imagine. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I had so many lessons in going one way to the other. What freaking lessons did you have in like now
Yeah, that's a
managing a
good
totally
question,
different group
dude.
of people?
It was natural to me because I actually learned this in the restaurant because it's front of the house, back of the house, right? Corinne, do you ever work in a restaurant?
Yeah,
Uh,
she did.
20
Yeah.
years off and on bartending, serving. That's
All right,
like
so
where my
she
roots
knows.
are. I
So right,
know.
so I bet Corinne's phenomenal at this because you probably had to go back to the kitchen and adjust your tone when you needed the cooks to get your food out, right?
Yeah.
And you had to learn how to approach these individuals who are introverted, that aren't people persons. They don't care about how you feel about what they say, right? Because that's what you're used to thinking people care about on the front side. So for me, I was super versatile. I would be super cool with the kitchen, right? And I found out ways to motivate them that was different than ways that I got the front of the house motivated, right? So I eventually became a GM at a restaurant at 19, dude. I was general manager of a
Was that
restaurant, right?
that was that hibachi restaurant we went to, right?
No, it was a bar and grill that he opened.
Oh, okay.
It was the sister restaurant. So I served
Okay.
at the sushi restaurant, and then he gave me the promotion to GM, the other one. So you got the cooks in the back, you got the dishwashers, you got the bus boys, and then in the front of the house, you got the hostess, you got the servers, you got the bartenders, right? So the way I see it in my business now, it's like, dude, the hostess, service, and bartenders are the front of the house people. This is the software engineers, right? These are the guys that are they're affluent, they understand dynamics of communication, business, all that. And then the painters are the back of the house, right? Those are the guys that are a little rougher around the edges. That's their personality. And the interesting thing is that you just need to be able to relate to them in a unique way. You don't need to be 100% just like them. You just need to find common ground. They need to feel
Yeah.
respected. I seek to earn the respect of everyone that works for me. And that's always been my mindset. I was young being a manager of a restaurant. So like I had people that were 50 years old in the kitchen that I was their boss at 19. So for me, I had to earn their respect. I had to showcase to them in a way, to showcase to them like, this kid is actually looking out for me, because I wasn't going to win the game of trying to tell them what to do. It was trying to get them to do what I wanted them to do because they wanted to do it, not because I wanted them to do it. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing, man. So that was the lesson I learned early on. So it was natural.
Dude,
now.
it's funny you say that too, because that was something I think I struggled with very early on with the painters. Was I couldn't relate to him, man. I'm like, I'm not a painter, I'm a marketer, and like unfortunately I didn't live this life that like, this blue collar life of making a couple grand, always struggling getting by. I don't have a kid, I didn't go through a divorce, like a lot of these things that I mean that nice, I'm not trying to stereotype, but like that a lot of these people have been through. It's like, dude, I grew up upper middle class. I started a marketing business that had a lot of success. It's like I'm showing up in my Tesla. Like I just don't relate, and that was something I struggled with until, to your point, it's like you found that common ground. I'm not just like you. We're very different, but was able to find that common ground, and they respect me. And yeah, to your point,
It's like they feel Eric's looking out for me. And it's like he's a good guy. And it's like usually those people, the cooks, Corinne, you could probably attest to this, painters, they think that their superior is their enemy versus
a lot of times
the software
you got to earn
engineers,
it.
the marketing. Right. They think it's their enemy. It's like he has power over me, right? So the first thing I did was make sure that I don't exercise power. Like I don't need to exercise power. I don't need to motivate with force. So that lowers the barrier, and, for me. And then it's like marketers. And well, here's where it really boils down to is that my software engineers, my account executive, my CSRs, my A's for drip jobs, they have options. They have a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
options, right?
100%.
Because they're professionally equipped. My painters, they don't have a lot of options. They're at a stage in their life where usually the only move they can make is parallel. It's not an
Yeah.
elevated move. So it's like the business owner who is aware of that and uses that to the business owner's advantage is the one that's utilizing power. The one that's aware of that and doesn't utilize that as a form of motivation is the one that usually wins. And that is kind of how I've approached it. It's like, I understand you can't go anywhere else, or you're going to go to a parallel that's not going to be as good as this. So we're not going
Yeah.
to, so it's kind of just balancing power and motivation and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because like they are so different, but like that solution, if you will, for lack of a better term, kind of ends up still being the same for both demographics of people, for both groups of people. You know?
It is, I mean, it's a crazy dynamic though. You and me are very similar in this, that like you have to like turn off the painter Eric and get into, business
Yeah.
marketing Eric and shut it back off. And it's interesting.
Dude, it's funny. I've had moments where I feel like I live an alter ego, where I got my 8 to 4. I have my jeans on with my paint. I got my baggy hoodie with my paint on, my hat. I look like a freaking painter, man.
I noticed. You must
I
have
know,
stopped at the
right?
job site.
Make sure to look the part. I drive up in my $4,000 beater van. I'm a
Yeah,
painter, man.
you're not
And
bringing
then
the Tesla.
no, dude. And then that night though, then I go change and I put on like some nicer clothes that like fit decently well, no paint, get in the $100,000 plus Tesla, go to a decent dinner, and I'm like, dude, I'm living two lives right now. Like, what is this? It's fucking crazy.
Wait, your Tesla was 100 grand?
Bro, it was
What kind of Tesla you
168.
got? What?
A Model X Plaid. It's stupid. It was purely for tax write-offs, but it was dumb. It was retarded.
Sure. Holy
No,
cow,
literally,
dude.
that's the whole story, dude. I fun fact, I actually bought the Tesla from Medellin. It was like December 10th. I just started working with a new tax firm. This was like not this last year, but the year before. So I've had it just over a year now. And they were like, "Hey, we just started working together in November. So they're like, we don't really have time. We can't really buy real estate. We can't do these other things. Do you want a vehicle?" I was like, I crashed my car 8 months ago and I was traveling overseas. So I was like, I don't own a car. Sure. They're like, great. You need to purchase one over 6,000 pounds and take delivery before December 31st. Your options are most likely, you don't really need a truck for anything. Didn't have a painting business at the time. They're like, your options are most likely a Tesla Model X
Forgot
or a
that Tesla
G-Wagon. That wouldn't have taken delivery, right? So, yeah, dude, literally from Medellin, Colombia, I'm calling dealerships and I'm like, what do you have that can arrive here before the 31st? And like I had to buy something from inventory, and we ended up just getting a dope Tesla. But yeah, that's cool.
Nice. Nice.
But
As long as
anyways,
you enjoy it. You got to have some things you enjoy.
yeah, and I'm a car guy, and it's a sick car. It is. Corinne's seen it, dude.
It's fast.
It's fast. Like it's crazy.
Unreal.
Tanner, dude, I wanted to also ask you this. Okay, so you get to you are probably the only other person I know in this space that you get to use your own product, right? Like when I started the painting business, I got to experience my own product by like, it's all from Facebook ads, right? And that's what we do for clients. And I got to like experience that. And, while I had done that before the remodeling company I worked at, it had been several years. So I got to like experience my own product and working with my own designer for a painting creative and some of that stuff again. It was really interesting. It showed me a lot. And I think our product has improved so much because of it. You have the interesting point of view too, where like you still own and operate a painting business while building drip jobs. I'm curious, like, what is that like for you? What are your biggest findings and discoveries as like you're using your own product every day in your paint business?
It's just a competitive advantage. I mean, I'm going to get the feedback faster than having it be relayed to me. I couldn't imagine building a software business and relying on my users to tell me specific use cases and scenarios that the feedback loop is too slow. So for me, man, it's a blessing, dude. Because I'm growing a painting business. We're going to probably hit 2 million this year. So there's,
Huge.
I mean, that's 90% of our user base is under 2 million. So any problems that I occur getting there or any things that I need to optimize my workflow, chances are I know about it or I'm going to find out first. And that's just been, it's
Yeah.
been so unique. Another part of it is it allows me to you know, when you create a product or you own a business, like, dude, the first thing you want to do is like you need to have empathy for your customer. Like, you have to be able to experience it. You have to be obsessive. You have to, like, when they tell you to create a product, you need to be obsessive about finding a solution for your customer. I obsess about finding a solution for me first, and then
Yeah, because you're
I
your
am my
customer.
customer. I'm my
Yeah.
customer. So I wear a chip on my shoulder about it, of course, because I don't know any other software companies that are doing it like that. So I think it's just
Do
a
you
really
feel
cool
like it
competitive advantage.
removes pressure for you? Like, do you feel, because I feel like for me, it removes some level of pressure where I was like, no, I know my product's good because
I
I'm
don't know an
using it,
alternative. You
or,
do. I don't know the alternative. I've
yeah, I guess
always
that's
used drip
true.
jobs before I had a customer. So you didn't.
Yeah.
You were doing ads and you were doing what I was telling you that you would have had to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
which was try to get feedback from people. And I think for you, it's made tremendous leaps because you are your customer. You're nurturing these leads. You're selling the freaking jobs. And now when someone comes to you with an issue, it's like, I'm doing it. So what are you doing wrong? which is
Right,
which
right,
is
right.
power, which is power.
Yeah.
I mean, it's powerful, and to be checked like that, it's like now you don't feel like people are like, dude, you don't live this life, so you're trying to sell us leads and ads,
Hmm.
and you just don't understand. And it's like you
Yeah.
can get on this coaching call and hypothetically give me examples of what I should be doing,
They're not real
and
examples. Yeah.
but they're not real examples. Now, like, dude, I just closed a Facebook lead yesterday from an ad that I just ran, and here's the recording of it. Let me
Yeah,
hear how
literally.
you would approach this. So it
Yeah,
makes you a better
literally.
coach. Like, so your pivot is actually a lot more drastic. I don't know anything
Right. You
different.
always had it. You didn't know the others. Yeah,
Like,
I
dude, if
get
I
that.
started drip jobs and I freaking made it, and then I'm like, you know what, I should start a painting business. Like, I mean, that
Yeah.
would be hard, but then it would still give me a lot more. I'd be like, oh, I actually use this app and it sucks. You know, I need to
Yeah.
fix this crap.
Well,
You
and
know,
it's funny too. I don't know if you know, and we can. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying. I don't know if you know John with what's the name of the software? I'm gonna
Paint
forget. I
Scout.
feel bad. No, no, no. It's a software. It's like it's pretty small still. He's gonna be at Expo. It's a software that like it pulls a bunch of data from Zillow and other places, and it'll give you like square footage measurements without you actually going there. Very interesting. But he's a software guy first, but he partnered up with somebody local to his area to let him like take estimates and stuff for his company, so he can use his software and get quicker feedback loops. To your point,
That's interesting. I'd like to
yeah,
know what that does. If it does
it's an
wall
interesting
space, yeah.
software. It
If it
does.
does
So
wall space without me going there, that would be neat.
I'm pretty sure it does. I know he's still like
That's
very much
very
developing
hard
it.
to do.
But the
Yeah.
that's his idea, is to be able to pull a lot of this public records data, like make it all central and make a virtual estimating process much easier. That's kind of his ideology, the ethos behind it. Don't quote me, but more or less.
Well, they have
Yeah.
that for roofing, which is freaking
Yeah.
sick. Like, you can put in an address and it tells you the exact dimensions of the roof with the pitch and
Yep.
everything. So obviously that's a lot easier because it's just taking the sky image of it. But
Right.
you know, I
Yeah.
feel like
You
roofing
you would
sales would
understand
be
it more from like the software point of view and stuff, but it's pretty neat what he's building. It is. So,
cool. John,
um
give me a holler.
yeah, John, listen to this. Hit up Tanner, man. I'll connect you guys. I can connect you guys.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Um That's really all I got, Tanner. Before we wrap up, and if you got anything else, I'm happy to share. The one thing I just wanted to make sure I shared here with you, I was thinking about this as I was just kind of thinking about this today, getting excited for this podcast with you. I just wanted to like give you a massive shout out and just say like thank you for being a true friend and helping hand in me launching this paint business. Really, you are the only person who has actually given selflessly. I've had other people kind of help out with things here and there and give me some advice, but it was always a give and take. It was like, oh yeah, I'll let you know how to do this and do this guest coaching call for my clients or do this or do that or whatever. You were the only person that you just helped me time and time and time again, convincing me to do W-2s, convincing me to go get the vans when I was like, dude, I don't know, I want to invest in a van. Like all those things from day one to still now, and like asking for nothing in return. You're also the only person in this space as like vendors that's actually reached out and be like, dude, check out this Drip Jobs feature. It might help you. And I think it's fascinating with like the audience. I mean, not that I'm that important, but we got a little bit of an audience. And nobody else has reached out and been like, yo, you should try this. Let me help you. You've been literally the only person, and it's been completely selfless. I just want to like say a massive thank you and how much I appreciate you for that.
Of course, man. Yeah. Well, I knew that, it was hard to sell you. I remember I was up at late. Dude, it was like freaking 12:30 at night.
Yeah, I know. We were texting. You were like, bro, go get a van, like, dude, buy some sprayers.
No, it was just like I was trying to sell you on W. You were a hard sell, dude. Like it was
I know,
like,
I was.
I can't do it. I'm not doing it. Corinne, you should ask him to find that text.
I'll find the text messages.
And like just like it'd be funny for you to like review that and see how hard I was selling him. But I'm like, but yeah, dude, the culture, and like, but yeah, dude, like you could do it, and but like, yeah, dude, and like I think we ended at a stalemate. You were not gonna do it, and then, like, yeah, and then like the next day you were like, all right, I think I'm gonna do this.
Well, dude, what sold?
I remember the first text message when he sent that, or not text message, but Slack message, where Eric was like, "So, what do you think about maybe switching to W-2s?" Yeah. I was like, "Oh yeah."
So, dude, what really did it for me, it was a couple things that put me over the edge and was like, let me actually really consider this. It was one where you were talking about culture and you were talking about impact. And that's something, at that time in the painting business, I had really only gotten to experience on the marketing side. And it's been one of my favorite things about being a business owner is getting to develop people. I have team members that have been with us 2 or 3 years that I look at back at 2 or 3 years ago. You don't even recognize the person anymore just because of how much personal development they've had. And it's been like the most fulfilling thing in the world. And I've loved that. It's fun. Right. The other thing you said, you were like, bro, go look at my reviews. All my customers, they reference our team's name. That really did it for me too. And then the last thing was that story I told earlier where I showed up, the subcontractor bailed and I had my brother going and doing that. And I was so stress-free. I was like, bro, I bet this is kind of what employees feels like. I remember I texted you and I think I said, I was like, dude, is this what employees feels like? Like, whatever. You were like, yeah, bro, it's peace. It's called peace. Was what you said. Like, that was the text.
Yeah. Well, I'm a natural team builder. I love connecting people. You know that. Like, I just love the dynamic of bringing people together. And I think it's so cool when I can recruit team members and feel out their personality and see who they would fit best with. It's like fantasy football, man. It's like, all right, I'm going to put you here and you here and like see if this works. And then, okay, like you're a manager. Dude, I'll kind of wrap with this because it's on the same thing. First of all, pleasure helping you, man. You're going to take this to the moon. Corinne, you guys are going to do great things. I love the legacy. I love the impact, man. Being able to give someone an opportunity is the joy. After you make money, after you save the number that you're thinking of saving, subcontractor relationships are transactional. Every now and again, they can be personal, but it's transactional. It's like, I'm here to do a job for you. You're paying me this. Goodbye. And I thought, at the end of the day, I wanted something more than that. I gave 2 people. I had one one manager that he got a job with the Department of Transportation. We gave him a goodbye breakfast. Like this was a celebration for him in front of the whole team. That's right? Because any of you guys do anything in my business, that's great. Go. Because that was actually in the bank job that I had. That was something new for me. In corporate culture, sometimes you come across this, Corinne, where you have a boss that actually cares. And when I went to start my own business, they threw a party for me, man. Like that was so eye-opening. I'm like, no way. Like this is really cool. So for me, anytime someone goes and does something, we hit breakfast, we get together, everyone, and just celebrate them leaving. But what it did was it gave someone an opportunity who was a painter. Quick story. This is a real story. So I had to let someone go, right? They just fell short of expectations, and it was one of those things very hard to do. If you've ever had to let go of a manager with a van, right? This is like taking out a tumor. because they're so integrated. It is. It's like they got the van, they're integrated. You talk to this person every day because they're your manager. This was a very hard thing to do, one of the most stressful things. So had a team member who just had a baby. He's someone that I trust. He's someone that has always done a good job, and I just felt the feeling of it's time to give him a shot. I called him. I said, hey, this is what you're going to get paid. You're now going to get a van. You're going to elevate. And this guy was just so thankful. He just couldn't thank me enough for this opportunity. And it's like, this is what it's about, right? Mm-hmm. It's taking someone from where they are to where they want to be through the vehicle of your business that gives me the great joy. Better than any subcontractor. Hey, I gave you an extra $500 on your check for doing a great job. All right, cool. Thanks, man. Let us know when the next one is.
Yep.
Like, what the hell is that? No, it's like now this gentleman who works for me as the business owner or as the manager, he's sending updates. He's updating company cam. Yeah. He's doing things that normally he didn't do. He has to do it now. He's able to provide more for his family. He feels like a better provider in his household. The customers are happy. Like, dude, when you see that thing full circle, bro, it's addicting. And that is what I pursue every day.
Well, dude, I 100% agree.
I wanted to share that with you. That's why I'm telling you this, because I'm like, dude, I experienced this so much. It's like, bro, trust me, you're going to love this.
Dude, it's very fulfilling with painters, just because I feel like you can hit some of that development stuff like very fast, as opposed to sometimes other bigger, the software developers, whatever. But it's cool. Like on a small scale, we had that moment this week. I mean, we have a gal that, she's only been on the team 2.5 weeks, but she's an absolute killer. I've expected to kind of be promoting her quick. I brought her in at painter level and gave her keys to a van yesterday, and she's already going to become a job site manager. She came from to your point, man, she came from a work environment where she wasn't getting paid on time. Like she was almost kind of skeptical in the interview process in the first few days. Yeah. She got integrated. She saw everything was so organized. Everything was what it said it was supposed to
damaged, be. Bro.
And bro, she's so bought it. They do.
Who hurt you?
Seriously. There's trauma. There's trauma. But like she's so bought in now. And she was like geeking out about this van. She was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. And she was so excited. And it's like it's super cool to be able to give people that really deserve it the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were mentioning, Tanner, I think, especially if you've worked the restaurant industry multiple places, like you get to see examples of great leaders, great managers, and then on the swing, like really poor ones. And then when you are placed in the position of, an owner or a co-owner or a place of leadership, and you're like, awesome, I get to decide what one of my examples, like I know what I don't want to be, and I know exactly who I want to emulate. Yeah. And then to be able to be the manager or boss that you wish you always had, like that's really exciting.
You know how it felt, right? You just remember those days
where
you're like, I'm not going to cuss, but F that guy, all right? Because and you're thinking, I'm planning my escape, not because of anything other than this guy. Right. Yep. And I never wanted to do that. Right. And it man, it's so cool to have gone through the channels. Like you said, I think the restaurant industry gives you so many examples of management because the turnover's so high. So I had like 8 managers and they all had different styles. And the ones that really can, you're going to like this, Eric. You know who my favorite manager of all time was?
Who?
Do you know? You know him.
I know.
Like, who do I know? Yeah. Alex Corral, bro.
You worked for him, or
he was my manager at the restaurant that I transitioned to.
Okay.
And it was a nightclub / fine dining establishment, and he was the GM, and I was a server. So when I was a manager of the first restaurant, I left to go to college, and I'm like, I'm not managing anything. I need to just make some money and do school. So he was the manager. And his style, bro, was so cool, man. He was so laid back.
Just knowing him.
He was, he was super laid back. He was the coolest guy, dude. Like just so relatable. He held you to your stuff, but he gave you the leverage to do your work and trusted you to do it. And then if you didn't do it, he'd get on your ass. Yeah. And I was like, man, I want to be just like him. This is honest story, man. And when I see his success, I'm like, I know why he's successful. He gets people to buy into him.
Yes.
They're bought into Alex on a 10x level. That's a different story, but that's the start of our friendship, and he was my favorite manager.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I did not know he
Yeah,
worked
now
at the
he's my
same
best friend.
restaurant and stuff with you. Yeah.
we
No,
just
a great
we
guy.
just we never
Incredible
stopped talking.
human. Yeah,
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
human. Well, dude, I won't keep you
Eric
too
the
long.
painter.
I appreciate you jumping on. Eric the painter, not really a painter, but this is what
Eric the
we do.
non-painter.
Yeah.
Can't wait to
That's
see
cool.
like the little intro video you guys do. Maybe it's like an animated, like I can see like a
Dude,
fun,
I feel
whimsical,
like we need a I feel like we
like
need a song. I feel like we need a song of like
Eric the
Eric the
painter.
painter. Yeah.
Eric the non-painter. Do,
Dude, you
do, do.
gotta do a jingle. I bet you on Fiverr. Honestly, I bet if you look up jingle on Fiverr, you can get a
Oh, dude,
freaking
we need to
jingle.
do
Man.
it. That would be
Eric the
fun.
painter thought he was a marketer, but he's really not.
Tanner, yo, real quick, man. Where do people find you? What's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to check out Drip Jobs? Where should
Yeah.
they go?
Well, Drip Jobs, please go to dripjobs.com. We're not funded, so any dollar that you put into the company goes to a good place in innovating and making the best app ever, which is something I'm proud of. Dude, I wear a lot of chips, man. I like being an underdog. I love it. No, I love deleting emails from VC companies wanting to fund us. Just like it's awesome, man. It's like, nah, we don't need
Yeah.
you. We're community-led growth, brother. Like you can't. Sorry, VCs, growth hacked. Sorry, we're good.
And that's
so,
rare in software. Like it is.
super rare. It's expensive. It's expensive to run a software company, like the initial investment. So we rely on signups. So come to dripjobs.com. If you sign up with Eric, you get a free 60 days of Drip Jobs to start off, so you can get your leads nurtured and taken care of and caressed. But if you want to connect with me, official Tanner Mullen on Instagram.
Oh yeah, amazing. Well, thank you, brother.
Drip Jobs,
appreciate
the lead caressing software.
If you're not dripping, you're slipping.
Oh my god. All right, we'll wrap up.